Yeah, right. How y'all been? I've been good. I just finished watching some Proud Family, but man, it's good to be back face camming on the channel. I said face camming, but you know what I'm saying? I'm on my new phone, my 13 Pro Max, so if you see it a little blurry, that's just the reason. Don't mind, I'm just trying something new, all right? Can we just talk about how the college football playoff is not expanding? Like, let's talk about it. Like, this is so like crazy to me how I constantly told y'all, and y'all know this, if you've watched my videos, you know I've been serious about this, right? How many times have I told y'all we gotta stop letting old heads dictate what happened in college football for today? Because they are not P. They don't know what fun in football looks like now in 2022. They just remember what they used to know. You know what I'm saying? If people would just listen to me and realize that I'm being honest with y'all, dude, the college football playoff is the literal thing that makes college football whole. At least what should make college football whole. But the fact of the matter is, for some weird reason, they never can get the postseason right. And that's the only thing that holds back college football in the year of 2022. Well, that's been holding it back for ages now at this point. Yo, I'm 22 years old. I just turned 22 last month. Ever since I was born, there's been a flawed system in college football for the postseason. And that's so insane to me because it's been 20 years and they still can't get it right. I'll start it off like this. Did I advocate, all right, 14 playoff? Yes, because that was the first thing they said, all right? They said first thing would be a 14 playoff. I said, okay, cool, go from there. But understand, when they first announced this and I was 12 years old, even me as a 12-year-old kid that constantly watched football knew a 14 playoff isn't necessarily a real playoff format. It just doesn't feel real. You know what I'm saying? We, as a whole, as a college football community, have such a weird thought process on what a perfect or what a great postseason should look like. Honestly, I just want to talk about some of the flaws that we have as a college football community. I feel like we have so many flaws in our thought process that I honestly feel like we're kind of at a bit of a disconnect here, if you know what I mean. So I want to go ahead and do that. First things first, to anybody that says they shouldn't expand, you're on types of crack. All right, I'm just gonna go ahead and say right now, if your first intentions on an expansion is good, we shouldn't expand, screw you, that's my mood. How can your thoughts be so jaded that you only say, oh, well, there's nothing wrong with the college football playoff, just get better? Except that's not possible, because when teams do get better, then they have to get discriminated because either they're a group of 5 team or they're a team that's actually in a Power 5, but because their main team that's usually hyped in the high in the rankings go down, we just automatically assume that they are trash. For example, Wake Forest and Clemson and Pitt. The whole ACC of last year, our intentions were saying, oh, well, the ACC is trash. Look at them, they're on a down year. And the only reason why people said they were on a down year is because Clemson didn't have one loss or no losses. And the sad thing about it is they easily just discredit Pitt. Yeah, I'm a Pitt fan, if you don't already know. They easily discredit our ACC championship win because Clemson not only didn't make a playoff, but had 3 losses and said, yeah, but this doesn't count because Clemson had a down year. But nobody was really out there on that Clemson sideline getting injured left and right for the most part. For the most part, it was just DJ and he was messing around and he was being a bad quarterback. And that's how they were losing for the most part, because their offense couldn't get anything. It wasn't because, oh, they had multiple injuries and they started taking L's and that's the reason. No, it was because their quarterback could not do what he was supposed to do, and there was no type of offensive connection, which made Clemson go down. But for some reason, that discredited the whole entire ACC. For example, Wake Forest. Okay, I'm about to go ahead and say it because some of y'all are a little afraid to say it because y'all are afraid to look kind of weird and standing out. If Wake Forest doesn't lose any games, do you think that they're going to go into the playoff? My opinion, no, because they weren't Clemson. And plus, if there was any year to put a group of 5 team in, Cincinnati was the perfect time. But even then, their spot still wasn't even locked in regardless, because people were using simple things just to get at them about certain stuff, and then they went from there and blah 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 and this, that, and forth. Secondly, let me talk about this real quick. Yes, we can make the case that the SEC is the best conference in all of college football. Okay, rightfully so. But do not act for 1 second that there was a little bit of SEC bias, all right? Let's be honest. Don't lie to yourself. There's obvious SEC bias. For example, let me give y'all an example. Kentucky was doing what they were supposed to do, and they were all right, they were doing good. And then they blew out LSU, who had a losing record at that time. And do you want to know what happened? They jumped very, very high in the rankings. I was telling people this like a few years back. I was like, when are y'all gonna realize beating a SEC team gives you a lot more credibility regardless if that team is ranked or not? For example, my Pitt Panthers, Kenny Pickett, Jordan Addison, and the rest of the squad, we went into Knoxville and beat Tennessee. But for some reason, that was really hyped up like crazy. I don't even think Tennessee was ranked this year. How did we get so hyped about that? Like not us, but you know what I'm saying? The media got hyped as hell for that. And I still don't understand what the thought process was. I know going into an SEC stadium and being an SEC team, that's cool or whatever. But we shouldn't have been fully hyped off that one game. Mississippi State. Let me talk about Mississippi State. Mississippi State was so hyped up after a few wins, and when they kept losing, they would find a way to win another game and get put right back into the top 25, which was giving Alabama a credit for a top 25 win because of that. And it was obviously biased, all right? Now, that's not saying that SEC teams get, they're in the top 10 more because of that situation. I'm saying because of, one or a few teams, Alabama, Georgia, of course, who won the national championship, from time to time LSU, from time to time Florida, and from time to time Texas A&M. Some of those teams get the benefit of doubt, and they get pushed up higher for not really doing that much. Remember, last year, I was talking to y'all about name bias in the college football playoff. Some dude who really loved Ohio State, when I was trying to say, yo, they're really trying to push this narrative for Ohio State because they lost on the final play against Clemson in the 2019 or 2020 college football playoff. It was one of those ones. And then they pushed into the pandemic year. And I kept telling people, I'm like, the Big Ten low-key just cheated to get Ohio State into the playoff. And it was like, no, they didn't. They're obviously the better team. I'm like, okay, that's cool if they're the better team. But remember, the Big Ten commissioner put a a ban list. So if you constantly had your games delayed or canceled, you wouldn't even been eligible for the Big Ten championship game. But they bent the rules for Ohio State to have them play Northwestern. Northwestern should have been playing somebody else that year. But the fact of the matter is, they bent the rules for Ohio State, gave them the benefit of the doubt. Ohio State won. Then they got into the playoff, got to go to the national championship. Oh, you don't understand what I'm trying to say. It's because they have good tradition and they have good history. So name bias. As much as you want to sit there and try to beat around the bush, name bias is real in NCAA. And I keep on telling y'all this, but some people don't want to listen. Ohio State gets name bias. There's a reason, and I know what y'all about to say. Bro, come on. It obviously doesn't matter. I don't want to hear that. Ohio State got into the playoff in 2014, the first year. oh, well, but they won the national championship, so I guess it doesn't really matter. You can't use future references to explain past decisions. Life doesn't work like that, man. You can't say, oh, Ohio State won the national championship anyways, but that still don't mean that TCU didn't deserve to be in there. How you move a team from 3 all the way down to 6? I don't care what nobody says. That is still one of the most janky things ever. But shout out to the Ohio State because that team was elite, all right? I ain't gonna sit there and cap. I feel like this is one of the main things that messed up the playoff. Best resume, most deserved. Who's the team that deserves it the most? Like, at some point, we really got to think about the resume in the most deserving debate thing. I feel like that's really what's dividing people in the playoff for the longest amount of time. I feel like in some cases, like for example, now I feel like from time to time they made the right decision, they make the wrong decision, but on the other hand, I don't think about it as much. Penn State in 2016 beating Ohio State. They beat Ohio State in Happy Valley when they were unranked and Ohio State was number 2. 2016 we're talking. Penn State then rallies off and wins the Big Ten championship game, something Ohio State didn't do that year. But because Ohio State was so relevant that year, Ohio State still got into the playoff and Penn State didn't, which ended up being the top 4: Alabama, Clemson, Ohio State, Washington. And then people can make the case that Penn State still could have been in the playoff because they earned it. But you couldn't make that point because they had one other loss from earlier that year. 2 losses to 1 Ohio State's. But even though that big thing comes around where it's like, oh, well, Penn State is 10-2, and they have a Big Ten championship game, and they beat the team that's currently in the playoff conversation. Well, Ohio State, well, they might have lost to that, but they beat Michigan. And yeah, well, I guess we could just go ahead and give them the benefit of the doubt. Later, then there goes 38-0, losing to Clemson or something like that. And by the way, to my Ohio State Buckeye fans, I have no hate towards y'all. Y'all just get the benefit of the doubt more than most. One thing I love, one commentator I love in this era right now is Joel Klatt. I feel like he makes so much sense when he talks. I feel like he understands. He talks like me. He understands where they're coming from. And in some cases, because he's older, he has a way more mature sense of where the direction of the college football playoff should go. Now, why am I bringing that up? The fact that this man brought up the college football playoff not only needs to be expanded, but it also needs to have multi coverage from different, TV stations. NBC, CBS, ESPN, and Fox. I don't care what anybody gotta say. That has to happen at some point. There's no way, and I know this is going to get a little bit of a touchy subject, but I don't care. At some point, we can't keep watching ESPN. I've been saying this for years. We can't keep watching ESPN because something behind closed doors with ESPN is going on, and I don't know what it is. I have a theory, but I feel like something janky is going behind closed doors with that in the college football playoff. Because you figure Disney's already owned by ESPN, and ESPN's trying to take over all the little coverage. You figure they already got a little bit of coverage with NHL now. And, ESPN's going to be hosting the Super Bowl, like, in the later years, like, late 2020 stuff. You know what I'm saying? And that's so crazy to me. I really am a person that pushes for different TV stations, but you can wonder the biasness in certain type of things. And I feel like with the SEC being away from the CBS and going to ESPN full time in 2025, 6, something like that, I feel like in my personal opinion, I feel like they only wanted that full coverage because SEC is the best conference and blah, 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 blah. And because they have more access to the, you know what I'm saying, to the college football playoff, because they always find a way to either get a great one or two teams in, then they go ahead and they push the narrative that, yeah, we don't need to expand or some goofy stuff there, which is actually crazy because I just realized that the SEC actually wants to expand. It's probably because they realized they could get more teams in the playoff, and honestly, that's diabolical. I like it. I like it. I can't even be mad about it. The main reason why I brought up this video is basically a rant. Old heads and, you know what I'm saying, and those old athletic directors don't know what people really want in college football. And honestly, I don't think they really care for the most part. They could have expanded easily because they were going into meetings every single month. Every single month. And they could not come up with something. How is that not possible? And the worst part about it is there was like a $350 million investment that would have been beneficial to all the colleges and all the athletic directors, and they still refuse to take that. You're probably looking at like some footage for the most part right now, and you're probably watching it and you're just like, yo, this would be kind of cool for the most part. But for people that are saying, oh, why would you want, a larger playoff? It would just cause more blowouts. Or no. Let me not even bring that up. Who the heck said, oh, well, if you expand the playoff, it's just going to hurt the college, the college football season. As much as y'all want to say, oh, well, the college football playoff expanding is terrible for college football because it's going to mess up the regular season. No, it's not. It's going to make it more beneficial, because you want to know why? If you cut the seasons down just by 1 or 2 games, the margin for error is so deadly that it might not even feel like you get the chance. It might feel like everything is going to go away so fast, but that's what I love about it. That's what I love about the idea. As you're going to think about, oh, well, it's going to diminish the season. No, it's not. No, it's not. As much as y'all want to think that it is, no, it is not. Would expanding the playoff really mess up the college football season? Or would it really make it more exciting knowing that there's a margin for error that might mess up your whole team's chances with just one loss? With one loss. And I want to bring this up too. Who else's idea or who else's thought process said, oh, 2-loss or 3-loss teams don't deserve to play for a chance at the national championship? I want y'all to think about this real quick. The NBA has 82 games. Teams still make the playoff with like 38 losses, which is almost half their games. The NFL literally has what, 18 games now? 18, 19 games now? And teams can still make it with 8 losses, almost half. So you're trying to tell me in a college football season that has what, 14, maybe 13 regular season games, maybe 12? You're trying to tell me having 3 losses and possibly sneaking into a 10th, 11th, or 12th spot is undeserved? Let me even give you a better example. The college basketball season. You have 64 teams trying to get into the NBA tournament. Or I said the NBA tournament, Jesus help me. The NCAA tournament, March Madness. Do y'all not realize there are still teams with 13 losses that still get into the tournament? Like, that's crazy that y'all even think that having 3 losses is so undeserved and doesn't even deserve a chance. Basically, what I'm trying to say is, I feel like we sell teams too short because of 1 or 2 losses. But in actuality, those teams, if you give them something bigger to play for, I feel like they would step up. I feel like they would do their research. They would do whatever. Can't guarantee a W, but the fact of the matter is, man, how will we know unless we try? I'm sick of this narrative that we assume, oh, you got 3 losses. you shouldn't even deserve to get a chance to play at a national championship. Oh, you got 2 losses. You lost to blah, blah, and blah, blah. I don't care. You don't deserve it. You don't deserve it. But how will we know unless we try? And I think that's one of the biggest flaws as a college football fan. We are so fast to sell things short because we're so used to the obvious. Well, Alabama, they deserved it. They deserved it. Y'all want to get into the 14 playoff? Y'all got to do better. Well, some of the cases, some people can do better, but a whole entire system is already flawed against them. How do you expect them to be a lot better? How do you expect them to get chances? You figure Cincinnati had needed 2 years. And honestly, if Oklahoma State would have won that game against Baylor in the Big 12 championship game, they probably still would have been left out, especially because Baylor was ranked. So my thing is, as a college football fan, as college football fans, why do we sell things so short? Why are we so hopeless? My personal opinion, we should really, really change our mindsets and actually think a lot more positive. I know some things happen and then we get all hopeless and we need to be like, yeah, whatever. Nothing's going to change. It's always going to be the same. And in some cases, in terms of this college football playoff staying at 4 teams, you might be able to make the case. But because of that, we fail to realize that the top 25 kind of sets the tone for everything, which means if you just only lose one game and you're only in the top 25, you're most likely going to stay in the top 25 for the most part and still get a chance. But the fact of the matter is, man, teams do got to get better, but opportunities need to expand, okay? So at the end of the day, we're not going to get anywhere with this 14 playoff. We're not going to get anywhere with these jaded athletic directors or university presidents that assume everything or assume whatever is good for them. But in actuality, it just makes it more annoying for college football fans. But at the end of the day, man, we don't know where we go from here. All I know is 2026, we better have a great playoff, a whole lot more TV broadcasting deals in that playoff, a lot more venues, all that jazz. And yeah, man, simple as that.